I received a text the other day, the one that no one wants to get. I would be remiss to not let you all know that behind the camera lens, I am grieving. Grief transcends all man-made expectations and priorities. It is arguably one of the most profound and intimate emotions a human can experience. Because of this, it is important to me that I keep my grief private. But in honor of my dear friend, I'd like to share this moment and these flowers with you all. Her name was Jackie. Grief is an extraordinary and challenging teacher. As much as I want to resist, I surrender to it, taking all the lessons it's willing to offer. May it give sobering perspective and deepen my capacity for love. Good morning, everybody. Rio and I have arrived at a slot canyon trailhead. I am really excited. This is my first slot canyon that I've done alone and Rio's first slot canyon ever. It is supposed to be extremely hot today, which is why we got up early to get here as soon as possible. So I'm hoping that we can make it all the way into the heart of the canyon, but if it starts getting too hot, that it just is what it is. I was hoping to get here a little earlier, but, you know, sleep. There's really 3 big risks to a slot canyon hike, which are pretty typical to any hike. The first is extreme heat, especially in the middle of the desert. The second is getting stuck. And the third is a flash flood. Don't worry, I've taken all the precautions necessary. I've already texted a couple of people too, so they know exactly when they should be hearing from me, just so that if, God forbid, anything happens, you know, they'll be aware. Nature for me is just such a powerful form of therapy, so this will feel really, really good. We should be done by late morning today, and then we'll be driving to a town that's an hour or 2 away, where I'll be checking in with the people who know that I've been in the canyon so that they know everything is good. I'll be bringing extra snacks, extra water, all that jazz. So I'm going to finish this coffee and then hit the trail because I really want to try to get to the heart of this canyon. This is very much a beginner slot canyon, just because I'm curious to see how Rio does in smaller spaces. I have a feeling she's going to do just fine. But yeah, this will be good for the both of us. Here we go. in meditation practice, you're taught to observe your mind and observe your emotions. And practicing that skill has completely transformed my life and drastically reduced the amount of inner chaos that I've experienced. It's allowed me to create a much stronger baseline of peace, which is something that I have never experienced up until just really this past year or two in my life. You know, emotions are only positive or negative because we deem them one or the other. It's important and okay to honor and create space for other emotions as well, even the ones we deem negative. And again, while it's very important not to hold on to these or identify with certain emotions, it's important to feel them and release them, because you can't release an emotion, you can't evolve, you can't take the lessons that it's giving you unless you create space for it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I am a person who feels things very deeply. And in the past, I used to be afraid of feeling negative emotions fully because they were too overwhelming and hurt my mental health. But once I got into the practice of meditating and observing my emotions rather than attaching to them, knowing that they are not a part of who I am, I was finally able to feel them safely, and in turn, I was able to let go of so much that was being harbored inside me. I am so madly in love with life, and although this is still a practice every day, I am so proud of myself for how far I've come on my internal journey. I'm at a place where I can feel sorrow and still be at peace and in love with the world around me, and that just feels so good. I linked the meditation app I use just down below in the description in case any of you want to look at it. Whew, we made it back to the bus. My camera battery died, so I'm just on my phone right now. But man, I am so proud of Rio. She was really just thriving. She was so good at communicating, so good at listening. There was only one spot where she couldn't get up herself, so I hoisted her up, but she was able to get down it herself. She was so good about trying everything that she came up on. She wasn't too afraid to try anything. And if she didn't get it on the first or second try, I would go up and she would follow my path exactly. So I'm just so proud of her. Rio, you did such a good job, honey. Look at this good girl. Yeah. Is that a happy girl? Happy, happy, happy girl. Yeah. I'm going to start driving to that town so that I can have service and check in with my loved ones who knew I was out in the slot. And then I guess we'll try to find camp from there. Back on the road. After a couple hours of driving, I arrived in a little town called Moab. I promptly took myself out on a lunch date because two of my favorite things are food and people watching, and Moab is a great place for both of those things. Then I headed straight for the bookstore. I find local bookstores to be comforting, and it's a great way to chat with the locals and get the inside scoop on what's happening in town. After buying too many books, I spent a couple of hours walking around town, soaking up the sights and sounds and the company of strangers bustling around me. To cap off my afternoon, I popped into the information center to watch the free movie about Moab and I had the pleasure of viewing with a very excitable group of folks from a senior citizens home. Then I slowly made my way back to the bus as the heat began to turn me into a puddle. Hey. Sometimes I get shy when I first press record. This is one of those moments. Hey. I arrived in Moab yesterday, and it was so charming to walk around downtown and pretend like I was part of the community, or I was part of the community for a day. And yesterday, after all that, I drove about 25 minutes out of town and found an amazing little spot to camp. If any of you have camped around Moab, you know it's usually very hectic, very packed, not a lot of privacy in the camp spots. But I found this little pull-off, and about a 5-minute walk down a service road, I have these sweeping views of Canyonlands National Park. So I'll take you guys down to my view in a moment. I have this thing where if I show up to a new place and they have a cute local bookstore, I'll go in and buy one book. And it never ends up being just one book, but I guess there's worse things to be spending my money on. So I have 5 books, and I'll let you know what they are in case any of you are interested, and then I'll show you the view. I got 3 books from Wendellberry. I just couldn't help myself. The first one is This Day. It's a collection of some of his poetry. The second one is Sex, Economy, Freedom, and Community. I'm really excited about this. Wendellberry, I haven't read his long-form works. I've read some of his poetry, but I'm so fascinated by him. I've read up on who he is. The guys at the shop when I was building my bus were big fans, and they really got me hooked, and I'm finally excited to dive in. The philosophy that he has on just the state of the world, on interpersonal relationships, on agriculture. It seems to be pretty profound. And then it all turns on affection. And that title just captured me. 2 other books. This one is How to Love by Thich Nhat Hanh. He has a little pocket series. There's a whole bunch of these little books, and they're so easy to read. It's like how to relax, how to fight. There's just a whole series, and I'm already halfway through this, and it's just so sweet. It's making me excited to love better. I don't know. I love love. Anyway, next book is a book that jumped off the shelf at me. I had never heard of this author before, never heard of this book, but you know when you're just, a book takes you in right off the shelf? So this is called Solitude by Dr. Anthony Storr. And it says, a profoundly original exploration of solitude and its roles in the lives of creative, fulfilled individuals. Indeed, most self-help literature still places relationships at the center of human existence. Lucid and lyrical, Storr's book cites numerous examples of brilliant scholars and artists to demonstrate that solitude ranks alongside relationships in its impact on the individual's well-being and productivity, as well as on society's progress and health. The author of this, Dr. Anthony Storr, is a British psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, researcher. So I'm really excited to read this and get an interesting perspective on what I have been experiencing in my life, because solitude has been so profound to me and has totally opened up my world just in terms of my capacity to love, my capacity for understanding, my perception of the world of community. I've felt so deeply enriched, and I'm excited to read his book to get a more biological and scientific reasoning for why solitude is healthy. I'm excited. I'll let you guys know if I like it. But I think that's enough chit chat. I'm gonna take you guys down so you can see my view. I've experienced a lot this past month in the desert. I celebrated a birthday, caravanned with a very dear friend, ventured deep into solitude, experienced love, experienced loss. The desert always seems to confront me with powerful self-realizations. It's been a journey, but as I stare off into this landscape of red, I can't help but be distracted by the snow-capped mountains behind me. I think it's time to leave the desert. In the morning, I'll rise with the sun and start my drive. Because as John Muir once famously said, the mountains are calling and I must go. Say good morning.